Good morning, world. How are we today? Um, yes, so another day, another video. And well, we have the same old story playing out. Every day there's more to talk about everything that's going on over in the Middle East and what Trump says and what Trump's doing. And look, I wasn't going to really bother making a video about this again today because I kind of feel like I've been suckered in again, and it's like I've contradicted myself because I know I said to myself a long time ago during COVID, which I've talked about in one of my other videos, I said that I made a sort of a deal with myself, a promise to myself back then that I wouldn't get emotionally manipulated, just suck it into, these big, bad, terrible things that happen around the world or that are pushed onto people, fear-mongering, making people worry about everything. And I'm not saying that I don't have empathy for the people who are affected. I do. My prayers go out to everybody who is suffering around the world. But it's also like the other video that I made that talked about facts of life and reality. If everybody gets really down and stressed out and upset by the things that are being pushed on every social media and every news outlet and just everywhere you look, if we all just get really angry and upset about all these things, and there's a lot. I mean, it's not just what's happening in Iran. There's so many current wars going on, and so many innocent lives being lost, and then you've got natural disasters, and it's just like one thing after another, isn't it? And it can get you all wound up, and it can get you all angry and upset and things, and I have been, because I allowed it to. When I said to myself a long time ago that I wasn't going to allow that anymore, my energy, my state of being should be under my control, just like you should have control over your state of being, and I was visiting with my neighbour the other day, she's currently in like a respite home, and we were talking about religion and just things going on in the world, and we were both saying that sometimes it seems like it's the end of the world. It seems like the end days, just what with all the terrible things happening, and it really we both were saying, and she's obviously much older than me too, so it's like a different, completely different generations view this. But she agreed it's like they want us to be thinking that way. They want us to be really depressed and negative about the world and things. And, I mean, even religion itself is the opposite of that, though. Well, it's supposed to be, it's supposed to give you hope and give you faith. And, you're supposed to have an inner peace in you, knowing that everything that is meant to be, and that everything will be okay, and just focusing on being a good person and doing good works, And it's like the media and people, seemingly running the show, perpetually trying to sucker people into this like downward spiral, sucker people into this big black hole of doom, and yes, there are terrible things going on in the world, and I pray for everyone affected. There are terrible things happening in all sorts of ways, on all different scales. There's a scale of terribleness of things going on. But all of that shouldn't take away from the fact that this is also still a beautiful world. Okay, and I really do actually believe that there has to be energetic balance in this place. That it's not that evil is winning. It's not that the darkness has taken over everything. I actually think that the darkness and the bad things actually do help to bring people who were maybe never religious before, help them find God, help them to even start looking for God. I believe that it makes people closer. Connections can be formed. Beautiful things can come out of ugly times, out of ugly experiences. I think that a lot of the growth that I've had in my life has actually come from bad experiences. Do you think that much growth, personal growth, comes from your fun, happy times? I don't think so. I think it actually comes from the hard stuff, and the ugly stuff. And that adds to the balance, good coming from bad. So I guess, rather than talking about how I think that the world is a stage, that there are things constantly going on behind the scenes that we're not supposed to be aware of, handshake deals between countries' leaders, even though it looks like they're at war with each other. Things that are basically done for views, like a competition of importance and popularity. It's like a game show. And I was even thinking about all this stuff with the Epstein files and everything. Obviously we all think that it is disgusting and despicable, unforgivable, to cause harm to a child. I don't necessarily think that that's, you know, everyone's saying like, oh, we've got to release all the files, all the information to do with Epstein and who's been, you know, involved in what, and the details of how much involvement, whatever. So we know the right people to point our fingers at and throw away in jail, right? But I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I think that is sort of like a blockade to stop people from looking at the other terrible thing that's really going on. And I think the other terrible thing that's really going on is that the most powerful and elite people in the world are part of an agreement with each other, or a club where they make all of these deals knowing the toll it's going to take on human lives, that they intentionally traffic people, that they intentionally depopulate parts of the world, that they intentionally disrupt or dismantle the infrastructure of regions of the world, and that they have no care for us whatsoever. And you would be outraged to hear terrible things that these people would do to children. You're outraged by that, right? You want them locked up in jail for that. How would you feel if you knew that the world really was a stage, and wars that are killing innocent children and people around the world, just dropping bombs left, right and centre, you know, and sending your son off to go battle? How would you feel if you knew all of that was planned? How would you feel if you knew that they had absolute disregard for anyone's lives? They don't care about whose lives are lost. And when they do put on a thing on the news and whatnot, a bit of a show about it, that's all just PR work, you know, for their own benefit. I think you would be more outraged if you knew that everything was pretend, that nothing that you thought was real was real. I think then there would be riots in the streets. I think then governments around the world would be toppled. I think then the people would take control, and not take control in the sense of utter chaos. I mean, we're not animals. We have populations around the world of smart, enlightened, intellectual people. It wouldn't really be that hard, would it, you know, for new systems to be put in place. And no, I'm not inciting anything. No, I'm not. You know, I mean, that's not my place. It's not my place. I very strongly believe that, no, God is in charge. And one way or another, you know, God will make happen what He sees fit. Everyone needs to be a lot more concerned, I think, with their state of being, the state of their life, and their affairs, what they're getting up to, what they are doing, what they're saying, what they're thinking. Because one day we will all be judged. We'll all be judged. And, I know that this place can be a very tough place to live, and it can feel like the worst experience sometimes. No wonder. I completely understand that people feel like giving up a lot. I understand that that's a common consequence of how tough of a place this world is. But it's also like a school, and I think, instead of seeing things as happening to you, I really do think that you should try to see things as happening for you. And like I was saying, that beauty can come out of the ugly. Truth can come out from the dark as well. And, you should try to see things as happening for you. And the things that God has put on your path for you to grow, for your personal growth and understanding, because when you leave this place, you want your soul to have leveled up, right? Obviously, you don't want to leave this world with the same minimal understanding of things as you had when you were a baby. You need to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to grow and to develop understanding of things, to gain wisdom, for your character to develop, but for your soul, most importantly, to develop. And that's why your ego is not really your friend, because your ego kind of stops you from growing, because your ego tells you, no, you're great the way you are. You're perfect the way you are. Don't worry about what anyone else says and thinks. Anyway, I guess this video has kind of turned into a video of, a reminder for us all to try to stay focused on your journey. Your journey is what is most important. Everyone is having an important journey, and all of the experiences that are had in this world collectively, go back to God. God gets to see through each person's eyes what this world is and does, and He will cast His judgment, and I think that's part of it. Is like, they want to distract us with all of this negative bombardment, this fear-mongering. They want to distract us so that we wane off that path of focusing on our own individual journeys and being the best people that we can be and doing good works. But you have to remind yourself every day of what's most important, what you should be doing, what you should be spending your time focused on. Because I don't think being focused on all these wars and all this drama, I don't think that's it. And while I understand that it's important to have empathy You know, that's part of being a good person, isn't it? To have empathy for people around the world going through terrible things. It's really, I don't think, necessarily a good idea to be focused on it so much to the point that it, you know, really brings you down and negatively affects you. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth this morning. Sun is just coming up, and Bubby will wake up in a second, likely. Anyway, stay focused, I think, on what's important, and you know in your heart what's most important. Everybody, you don't need, you know, anyone to tell you. You don't need even really technically, you know, a person who is blind and deaf knows what's most important, you know. It's put in your heart, you know, and it's put in your heart what's right and wrong. It's put in your heart what you should be doing as an individual in this place. You know, everyone should just have more faith. You know, this world needs to get lifted with faith, with hope, with positivity. You know, that does no good for anyone or this world if we all just sort of dwell in the darkness and in the sadness and in the stress. You know, it does no good to anyone. So, yeah, you all have a good day, and I'll see you all in another video next time. Bye.